ladies and gentlemen, CBC members and guests, thank you all for being with us tonight. Not separated by significant geographical or cultural differences, I would like to welcome the Honorable Marc Garneau to Egypt and look forward that this visit will be followed by other ones in the near future. I would like to thank Ambassador David Drake, the Canadian Ambassador to Egypt, and Mr. Thayer Muqbil for arranging for this important visit. It's true, Egypt is currently facing significant challenges as a result of the subsequent events, which is an inevitable side effect of the transformative process and a price we had to pay before creating a new democratic, healthier and more equitable political and socio-economic environment. However, I have always believed that Egypt has the potential to make a rapid and healthy recovery. But while Egypt rises to its potential, this requires not only the hard work and support of its citizens, but also the goodwill and commitment of our friends around the world. And I have always seen Canada, particularly, as a key partner to Egypt while it is taking its step forward. Canada and Egypt, over the years, have developed strong relations, and for us, this type of gatherings is of vital interest, as they always reflect our belief that there is enormous untapped potential for further development of Canadian-Egyptian relations for the benefit of us all. In addition to that, it's not an everyday event when one gets a chance to meet with someone who visited the outer space not once, but 3 times. Mr. Garneau is a renowned astronaut who took part in 3 flights aboard NASA space shuttles. Allow me again to welcome Mr. Garneau, and I would like to welcome our dear guest and board member, His Excellency Ambassador Sameh Shoukry, former Ambassador of Egypt to the United States, who will be moderating and leading this event. I would like to give first the microphone to Ambassador Sameh, and then I would like Mr. Garneau.
His span of interest is certainly very wide. He shares with Mu'taz a love of danger. Mu'taz falls from space, revolves around the Earth, which is more exciting. Maybe both of them can tell us. But I won't keep you any longer. I have the pleasure of giving the floor to Mr. Garneau to address this session, and then I hope he will be in a position to take some questions. Thank you.
Absolutely, and thank you very much, Ambassador, and thank you, Chairman Raslan. And thank you all for coming this afternoon to take the time to listen to me. And I am thanking you also because I want to listen to you. I want to hear from you about how we can strengthen relations between our 2 countries. The reason I'm here is because I am the critic for my party, a federal party called the Liberal Party in Canada. I'm the critic for foreign affairs, and I felt it was important to come to this very important region of the world, which is very active and at this point in time, and so I'm on a 10-day trip. I've had the opportunity to visit, well, yesterday I was in the West Bank. The day before that I was in Israel. I will be spending 2 days here in Egypt, and I will be going back and finishing my trip with 2 days in Jordan. This is my first trip to Egypt. It's a real pleasure to be here because I think, like all little boys, when I was growing up, I was very much wanting to go and see the pyramids and the Sphinx and certainly all of Egypt's very illustrious early history was something that fascinated me. So finally, after 65 years, I've managed to get here, and I intend to come back. Now, I have had the privilege of seeing Egypt from afar on many occasions, and in fact, I have been able to look out a window and see all of Egypt in one picture. And that's what happens, of course, when you're about 350 kilometers above the Earth's surface. And I tell people all the time that the weather is always good over Egypt, so you can always see the ground very clearly. It is certainly unmistakable as soon as you see that green line threading its way from that triangle of the delta. It is unmistakable when you are passing over Egypt, and I have seen it on many, many, many occasions. I have even seen, as I said before, the pyramids, but from afar. And from up there, even with a big lens, you can only see a tiny little point for each pyramid. So I'm delighted that tomorrow I will have the opportunity to actually make physical contact with a pyramid. So it's a real pleasure to be here and to tell you on behalf of my party, the Liberal Party, that we very much would like to continue the process of strengthening relations between our two countries. Chairman, I read something that you had written about, I think you were trying to explain to your children what the CEBC was all about. And it is more than a business council. It is also a council that is concerned about strengthening relations between our countries on a number of fronts. And I think that if we are capable of strengthening our economic relationships, I think it will bear fruit in a number of other areas where we can cooperate. And I think that's very much what the Business Council is about. It is not simply about business, but it is about building other relationships. And I know from being in the space business, I was president of the Canadian Space Agency, that one of my best friends was vice president of a company called MDA, which is Canada's largest space company, and his name was Mag Iskander, and Mag was an example of one of many Egyptian Canadians who left Egypt years ago and has made a tremendous contribution to our country, to our benefit, in the space business. He, in fact, was responsible for managing the projects that built the robotic arms that are Canada's contribution to the International Space Station. So a great success from a great Canadian Egyptian and a great engineer, and I know that there are many, many others in Canada who have, to the benefit of Canada, come and started their lives in our country. And so you have exported some very, very talented people to Canada, and we thank you for that. I think it's important that as we look at opportunities for business, we look at other areas, such as our relationship with Egypt in terms of an organization called SIDA, which is, of course, involved with international development. This is something that has been a priority in the past and has lost some of its priority under the current government, and I will try not to be too political, but something that we would like to strengthen to where it was before, because I think it has been to the benefit of our two countries to have a strong program with respect to SIDA. I think that we have an important organization in our country called the Export Development Corporation, which also can play a key role in some of the business deals that we may be able to work between our two countries. So it isn't simply the private sector working with the private sector in each of the two countries. There is an involvement from the government point of view, and I just want to assure you that from the Liberal perspective, we are not the government at the moment. We hope to be the government one day, that we will be able to work in those different areas of federal government responsibility to enhance the business possibilities that will exist between our two countries.
Actually, I followed your speech in the leadership race and your Liberal Party, and I respect so much your ideas about how leadership race should be about ideas, not about fundraising. Of course, I don't hate fundraising. So your views were very bad, but still, what you leadership is something that I respect so much.
Thank you.
Quebec has a fascinating record in inventing new things, new ways of doing things. Quebec always likes to make an experiment. There's one big sector that Canada and Egypt can do a lot, and I mean the mining sector. Egypt needs mining now more than ever, and mining is what Canada does best. It's a very untapped opportunity of a diplomatic network between both countries that you and your colleagues in Egypt want to back to us. I don't want to say a lot of stuff, but I've always noticed that the Quebecois are doing a great job in West Africa only because they are French speaking. What we want to see is Canada being involved in the mining sector of Egypt, and Egypt is one of the richest countries potential-wise with regards to natural resources. Thank you.
Canada is a country of natural resources, so and quite a bit of our wealth in the past has come from mining in Canada, and this has allowed companies to build and including building expertise and going abroad into places in Africa, in South America, and I've recently become aware of the fact that Egypt has important mineral resources. It's not something I personally knew, but I am aware of it now, and I think that this would be a perfect example of where our two countries could work together to our mutual benefit. The mining sector in Canada does truly operate on a world scale. A lot of the mining stocks, people go to the Toronto Stock Exchange to look at or to list their stocks, and so it's important from that point of view as well. An issue has come up recently in Canada in the last few years dealing with corporate and social responsibility with respect to mining, and this is something that we've been addressing in our country, so that and basically what it says is that if a Canadian company is abroad, it must apply the same standards in terms of labor compensation, taking care of the environment that would apply in its own country, and that is, I think, good news as well, so that we are not going to damage our reputation if we are working abroad. And so, thank you for bringing this up. This is something that I think is very promising. Absolutely, absolutely. Now remember, I'm not the government yet, but we hope to change that one day.
We heard that the polls are in your favor nowadays.
The polls at the moment are in our favor. The Liberal Party has been a government before, for many decades, but we've gone through a difficult period, and in the last year things have improved quite a bit. Yes.
Well, actually, Sair is promising us a lot of promises regarding this thing, but we hope that next year you will be in power.
Well, that's certainly at the moment looking good, but a lot, as you know, can happen in politics in 1 year.
I would like to welcome His Excellency, the former Minister of Economics in Egypt, Mr. Mustafa Said.
Who is behind this situation? And what is the role of the West concerning this situation? We see support for the Muslim Brotherhood from certain countries in the area who are known to be in alliance with the United States. We also see that the United States is still not happy about what happened to the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. Also, the European Union, trying to think whether the situation is genuine or not. Trying to think whether there are certain objectives, serving certain interests for the West and for Israel or not. I would like you to comment on this proposition. Are the West behind all the troubles which are existing now in the area, and why, and what is the interest, and what is the aim behind this?
Well, thank you. And your question is occurring here in your own country. As a Canadian, I have been visited by people in my office as a politician who have commented positively on what has happened since last year, and some who have commented negatively. So, and I'm talking about the Egyptian Canadian diaspora. So these are people who have come to my office and made those comments, both for and against. From the Liberal Party point of view, we believe that it is critical that Egypt, which is a major player in this region, be able to live in a stable manner. It is critical that stability exist, and we are very hopeful that with the roadmap that has been laid out, obviously with the presidential elections occurring this month in 11 days, and followed by, and with the work that you have done on your constitution, and with the parliamentary elections that will occur later on, that this much needed stability will exist. So it is very important because of Egypt's always important role in this region of the world, which has its challenges. And so from our perspective, we will do everything to encourage that and show support for that stability in the years to come, because I think that it is important from an international point of view and in everyone's interest. That's partly addressing that question. In terms of the situation with respect to Israel and the Palestinian Authority, the Canadian position has always been that we support a two-state solution. Now, whether the conditions have been right to achieve that two-state solution, obviously one would have to conclude that they have not yet occurred. And I was, as I say, earlier this week in both Israel and in the West Bank, and I talked to Palestinians in the West Bank. And to be honest with you, both sides are blaming the other side for the fact that a satisfactory solution has not occurred. Our position has been that the two sides must resolve certain issues face to face. And those are issues that deal with the right to return, with the final disposition with respect to East Jerusalem, and the final borders, and the issue of walls in the West Bank, where we also have publicly stated that the building of settlements is wrong, and it is wrong for the reason that are stated in our position, which is on a government website, and says very, very clearly that you cannot build settlements in occupied territory because it goes against the Fourth Geneva Convention. And we've been very clear on that. And we've also been clear that the issue of East Jerusalem is an unresolved issue at this point. So from the Liberal point of view, and we are not the government, as I say, so we have not been the voice of Canada on that. Our position, which has been consistent for decades, is very clearly elaborated. Do I think the West is responsible for what is happening there, or the fact that there has not been success? That's a very big question, and it's a very complex one. ultimately it's going to boil down to the two sides finding a solution. And I hope the West encouraging it and helping. And that's one of the reasons that I was in that region of the world, because I think that Canada has in the past been constructive in helping to bring sides together, and it is something that we are proud of in the Liberal Party and we would like to be able to do again. So far, things have not been resolved. The government of Canada at the moment has a very strong position with respect to Israel. That is abundantly clear from the pronouncements of our Prime Minister. But if you look at their website, their position is actually no different from the Liberal Party. They just don't say it. So how you say things is just as important as what you say.
Maybe?
I just want to answer 4 Canadians coming from Canada and 2 diplomats from our embassy. So that would be 6 in total. Plus we're having a group of 9 people from media and press as well coming from Canada.
Huh?
Actually, that will be in town in the coming few days. So this is going to be like part of the delegation that will be monitoring the election.
So 15-man strong, man or woman strong delegation is reasonable.
To thank you for putting this event together. Again, I thank all of you for coming this evening. I really do appreciate your interest in Canada-Egyptian relations, which I consider to be extremely important. I wanted to make a small presentation to Motaz, it's just a souvenir. It's not officially from the government, it's from me personally, and it is just a small presentation to thank you for putting this together. And I don't dress like this anymore, but there was a time when I was involved in that occupation, but I hope you'll accept this
It's an honor.
as a small
Actually,
token.
we're going to put it in the facade of the council.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for
Thank you
coming.
very much. Thank you. Thank you.